The crew of Space Shuttle Discovery includes 5 astronauts who were making their first trip to space, more than on any previous shuttle flight to the International Space Station. Discovery's mission is the first to be led by Navy Commander Mark Kelly. But this is the second shuttle to be commanded by members of the Kelly family. Mark's twin brother Scott, chosen as an astronaut the same year as Mark in 1996, commanded shuttle mission STS-118 to the station in August 2007. As a kid growing up in West Orange, New Jersey, Mark Kelly remembers being intrigued by Apollo astronauts and the space missions he routinely watched on TV.
I kind of remember Apollo 11 a little bit, and then remember the last Apollo missions, remember seeing footage about what astronauts did in their careers before they were astronauts, and became interested at that point.
So after high school, Kelly attended the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, earning degrees in marine engineering and marine transport. From there, it was on to the Navy, where he got a master's in aeronautical engineering. His career as a Navy pilot includes 2 deployments from the aircraft carrier USS Midway, including one during Operation Desert Storm. Since coming to NASA, Kelly has flown as the pilot on Space Shuttle missions STS-108 in 2001 and STS-121 in 2006 before being named to command STS-124.
You're responsible for the overall mission rather than just having your piece of the pie. You got to worry about the whole thing. The training your other crew members are getting, mission success, mission safety. So it is a more comprehensive job, but I think it's more rewarding as well.
Ken Ham is the pilot on this space flight, the first of his NASA career. When he was a high school student in Clark, New Jersey, Ham's father convinced him to take flying lessons. Then, when he was trying to figure out what to do after graduation, Ham got some more good advice, this time from a high school counselor.
And he showed me a picture, I still remember to this day, of the Blue Angels, which I had never heard of. But they were flying A4s, and they were in a little diamond formation, and he goes, "Would you like to do something like that?" And I went, "Yeah, I'd love to do something like that."
That led Ham to the U.S. Naval Academy. A Navy commander, Ham holds degrees in aerospace and aeronautical engineering. His naval career includes tours as a crew member on NASA's Zero-G research aircraft, as well as combat missions to North Iraq and Bosnia. He was serving as a test pilot when NASA selected him as an astronaut candidate in 1998.
One of my most rewarding time periods in the military was being a test pilot at Pax River.
Here, I'll put it up here. You can see it.
And sort of a natural progression out of that was going on to trying to fly the space shuttle.
Mission specialist Karen Nyberg is also making her first spaceflight. Nyberg, who grew up in the central Minnesota town of Vining, knew at a young age that she wanted to fly in space.
I just decided that that's what I wanted to do, and I kind of kept that with me. And most of my friends in high school knew that's what I wanted to do. They used to call me the rocket scientist and all of that.
But early life wasn't all work and sci-fi for Nyberg. She made it a point to take advantage of other opportunities.
The good side about being in a town like that and a school that size is I was able to participate in everything that I wanted to. I was playing sports, I was in the band, in the choir, student council. So I feel very fortunate that I had the opportunity to be a part of a team in that way.
While studying for a bachelor's in mechanical engineering at the University of North Dakota, yet another opportunity presented itself which put her one step closer to her goal.
I got into the cooperative education program at Johnson Space Center, and that was a great experience. I learned a lot about engineering, and I got my foot in the door here at JSC.
Nyberg also holds a master's and a PhD in mechanical engineering. She was selected by NASA as an astronaut candidate in July of 2000. Mission specialist Ron Guerin also is a member of the astronaut class of 2000. The selection was the culmination of a dream inspired by an historic spaceflight.
I was a sophomore in college when STS-1 landed, and I distinctly remember again thinking, wow, this is what I want to do. And the very next day I went to my advisors and I started taking math and science courses.
He went on to earn a bachelor's in business economics from New York State University at Oneonta, a master's of aeronautical science from Embry-Riddle University, and a master's in aerospace engineering from the University of Florida. An Air Force pilot and colonel, Guerin has flown combat missions during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Selected by NASA as a pilot astronaut, he is flying on STS-124 as a mission specialist and spacewalker. In 2006, he was an aquanaut on board Aquarius, the world's only undersea research laboratory. Guerin credits his success to a philosophy he adopted while growing up in Yonkers, New York.
That if you have goals and you work really hard to achieve those goals, then you have a chance to do it. And so I think that's one of the things I learned growing up in New York is determination and persistence.
STS-124 is the second trip to space for mission specialist Mike Fossum. A colonel in the Air Force Reserves, Fossum flew with Mark Kelly on STS-121. Fossum says his first space flight made quite a first impression on him.
In that first glance, looking out the window to see the Earth, the curve of the Earth, the blue ocean covered with clouds, the black sky, totally black sky up above. And I was in momentary shock. I said a quick prayer of thanks, dear Lord, I can't believe I'm really here.
Fossum was raised in McAllen, Texas, where he developed a love of the outdoors. He earned a bachelor's in mechanical engineering at Texas A&M University, followed by an advanced degree in systems engineering at the Air Force Institute of Technology.
The Air Force actually loaned me over to Johnson Space Center in Houston. And so I came down here and worked in the shuttle mission operations for 3 years. During that time, my dream was really reawakened.
Sometime later, on the advice of astronauts Jerry Ross and the late Ellison Onizuka, Fossum applied and was accepted to test pilot school. He eventually left active duty from the Air Force, returned to work for NASA, and was selected as an astronaut candidate in June 1998.
I like the sense of adventure. I like the challenge. I like the teamwork and the fact that there's so many people that are working together to make this happen, and really fortunate to be one of the people that get to be on the pointy end.
Akihiko Hoshide is an astronaut with JAXA, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. He was born in Tokyo in 1968, but also lived in New Jersey for a while.
My father worked in New York, and he took me down to Kennedy Space Center one time, and that had a huge impact. And I also watched, science fiction movies, animation cartoons, and watched Star Trek, Star Wars. All that influenced me. And by the time I was probably 10, I was set for space.
Fast forward to the early 1990s. NASDA, Japan's space agency at the time, announced it was looking for its first astronauts.
But at that time, I was in high school, and I thought, well, this is only a one-time thing for Japan. After a while, on a newspaper article, it said that NASA, at that time the Japanese Space Agency, is thinking about having a next selection. So at that time, I thought, this could be a career.
So Hoshide earned a mechanical engineering degree from Keio University and went to work at NASDA as an engineer working on the H-2 launch vehicle. Later, as an astronaut support engineer, he helped Koichi Wakata, Japan's first mission specialist, train for mission STS-124. In 1997, Hoshide earned a master's in aerospace engineering. 2 years later, NASA chose him as one of its space station astronauts. STS-124 is his first spaceflight. Greg Shamatoff is catching a ride on STS-124 to the station, where he will remain and become a flight engineer for Expedition 17. Shamatoff will replace Garrett Reisman, who's returning to Earth on board Discovery. Shamatoff, who was born in Montreal, was hooked on space from the moment he witnessed one of the biggest moments in space history.
We went to Florida for a family vacation. When I was 6 years old, we saw the launch of Apollo 11 by chance. And my dad was always very excited about the space program, and I told him then that's what I want to do, and kind of never gave up on that.
When he was 11, his family moved to San Jose, California. His educational background includes a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and a master's in aeronautical engineering from Caltech. He also worked on several NASA projects while earning a doctorate from MIT before setting off on a 3-month trip around the world.
Anyway, I ended up in Sydney for a couple of years teaching at the Aeronautical Engineering Department, University of Sydney. And my wife came and she did some work in medicine in the outback in Australia, which was really interesting. And then from there we came to Houston.
Since coming to the Johnson Space Center in 1995, he's worked in mission operations